Welcome, skaters. Today, I am giving my Powerslide Hardcore Evo skates an extreme makeover to take them from looking like this.
Now look at this.
To this.
Now look at this.
I will be changing wheels and giving my bearings a deep clean. So in the process, I'll show you how to properly clean your bearings and change or rotate wheels on inline skates. Let's go.
Now look at this.
Wheels and bearings are the most important part of your skates. But every time you skate, you subject your skates to smoke, dust, sand, dirt, mud, and water that gum up and rust your bearings. Every one of your wheels also wears down a little more, each wearing differently and unevenly depending on your skating style and braking methods. After a while, your wheels get noisy. Start spinning slowly, and you'll see flat diagonal surfaces on the sides instead of smooth, even curves when you look at their profile. When this happens, it's time for some skate maintenance to avoid damaging bearings and breaking wheels. Thankfully, you only need about 30 minutes to properly clean your bearings, rotate your wheels, and get your skates looking and feeling like new again. Here's what you'll need: the skate tool for your skates, a small blade, household thumbtack, pin, or anything similar with a thin edge, a small bottle or container with a cover to shake and soak the bearings in, a clean dry towel or a stack of paper towels, rubbing alcohol, acetone or similar degreasing liquid, soapy water and rags to wash your boots, frames and wheels, oil-based lubricant to lubricate your bearings. And these are the steps to take to give your skates an extreme makeover in the process. Timestamps are in the description, so feel free to jump ahead, but you'll probably miss something important. Once we gather all our things together, let's start.
Now look at this.
First, disassemble your skates. Remove the wheels from the frames, then the bearings and spacers from the wheels. Keep everything organized if you're going to be rotating your wheels. Right skate goes to the right, left skate goes to the left, with the inside of each skate facing up as it lies on the table. Then, use your skate tool to loosen and remove the axles. Make sure to insert it firmly into the pilot hole before turning each time, so you don't strip your bolts. As you take off each wheel, place it in line next to the axle hole on the frame it came out from, with the inside of the wheel facing up. The axles go in a pile in the center. Repeat for each wheel. With all the wheels out, take one at a time and remove the bearings and spacers. Leave them with the axles and put the wheels back in the same position and orientation you picked them up in. Getting the bearings out can be a little tricky your first time, but you quickly get the hang of it. The bearing puller on some skate tools makes it really easy to remove them. Just insert it as far as it can go into the bearing, twist and pull a little at a time. If your tool doesn't have a bearing puller, insert the tip of an Allen key or screwdriver at an angle into the bearing hole just enough to touch the inside edge of the bearing, and use it like a mini crowbar to prise a little at a time, rotating the wheel in your hand each time till it pops out.
Now look at this.
Be ready to remove the shields and soak the bearings. But first, do you know how a bearing works? Bearings are made up of an inner race an outer race, and some lubricated metal balls that roll between them, sharing the load and reducing friction as the races turn relative to each other. The balls are separated by a cage to keep them evenly spaced, and the bearing is closed with a shield on either side to keep the oil inside and contaminants out. Inline skates, roller skates, skateboards, and longboards all use the same type 608 bearing. 608 bearings come with different types of shields with advantages and disadvantages. There may be just one metal shield on one side with the other side open, two metal shields, one rubber shield and one metal shield, or two rubber shields. Metal shields work better to keep the bearing clean, but make it more difficult to service. Rubber shields, on the other hand, make it easier to open them up for service, but also easier for dust and water to get in, requiring more regular servicing. Chances are yours are like mine, with one metal and one rubber shield. To get to the inside, we need to remove the rubber shield. Take the X-Acto blade, pin, needle, or any tool with a narrow edge, insert it into a bearing next to the rubber shield, and gently prise it out a little at a time while rotating the bearing. Repeat for each bearing, loading the bearing into your bottle or container open side up, and putting the shields next to the axles and spacers. There are cleaning kits you can buy to make this step more efficient, but any small bottle or container with a cover that you can immerse your bearings in as little alcohol as possible will work. I made this DIY cleaning kit with a nut and bolt and a small bottle that fits my 12 bearings perfectly. You can easily make something similar to save you time and chemicals for your future cleanings. With all bearings loaded in the bottle, pour rubbing alcohol to completely cover them. Alternatives to rubbing alcohol include acetone, citrus cleaner, kerosene or gasoline, but rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol will be best as they are cheap and easy to find, and you don't have to take additional precautions for handling more volatile cleaners like kerosene or gasoline. Once the bearings are submerged, cover the container and give it a few good shakes for 10 to 20 seconds to flood every crevice of every bearing with alcohol, and leave them soaking while you go on to the next step.
Now look at this.
Next, clean and inspect your boots, frames, and axles while the bearings are soaking. Use a rag and some soapy water to thoroughly wipe down your frames. Pay attention to the surfaces inside and around the axle holes, a common place for mud and dirt to build up. Inspect your frames to make sure they are firmly bolted onto the boot and their position or angle on the boot hasn't shifted. Readjust as necessary based on your skating style and preferences. To clean the boots, use a clean rag and some fresh soapy water to wipe down the boot, the buckles, laces, and straps. Pay particular attention to the underside of the boot where the wheels splash water and dirt from the ground. If your boots have removable liners, take them out, clean and inspect them separately for wear and tear before putting them back in. You should also take out, wash, and replace your laces. Once the boots are completely dry, I also put some liquid shoe polish on the leather fabric sections of my boots. This works wonders on hard shell boots as well. For the axles and spacers, use a rag and either rubbing alcohol or soapy water to give them a quick wipe. The shields on my Bones Reds bearings have ridges on the inside, so I use an old toothbrush to scrub out grease and gunk in the corners with rubbing alcohol before washing them out with soap. You can also put the axles to soak with your bearings, but avoid leaving rubber shields in alcohol for too long because it can dry them out and make them brittle.
Now look at this.
The bearings should be soaking for about 10 minutes by now, so time to remove them and to drain them out. Give them one final shake, take them out, and place them open side down on your towel or paper towels to drain out. Tap them to shake off any excess solvent trapped inside and pat them dry with the towel one by one. Give each bearing a quick spin in your hand and then put it open side up on the towel for any remaining solvent to evaporate before lubricating to avoid breaking down and diluting your fresh lubricant. A hairdryer can be used to speed up the drying, but it is not necessary. 5 minutes drying time in air should be enough, and you can go on to the next step during this time.
Now look at this.
Next step, wash, inspect, rotate or replace your wheels. Use soapy water and a rag to clean your wheels one at a time so you don't mix them up. Wash thoroughly underwater, then take them out and give each a good wipe with the damp rag to get into the hub and between the spokes. This is the perfect time to inspect your wheels for damage and wear before putting them back down in place. Pitting small localized cuts, cracks or holes on the wheel will indicate they will need to be replaced soon. Check the profiles for flat diagonal surfaces and unusual wear. Taking note of wear patterns on your wheels and figuring out why, based on their position, gives valuable insights about how well you manage your braking, stopping and sliding techniques for maximum wheel life. You will notice that generally, the sides of the wheels on the inside of the skate wear down faster than those on the outside, and the front and rear wheels wear much faster overall than those in the middle. My wheels have been begging to be replaced for about 3 months now, so I got a set of brand new Rollerblade Hydrogen 90mm wheels. These wheels are rated at 85A hardness and have a bullet profile and are available on Amazon.com and in most online skate shops. Link is in the description. So after a quick unboxing, I have some brand new wheels. Just look at those beauties. Time to rotate your wheels. Rotating aims to keep wear consistent across all your wheels and their sides, to extend their life, provide better control, and to get a smoother ride. There are many ways to rotate your wheels, but these are the generally accepted best practices for most inline skating disciplines. For 3-wheeled skates, take the front wheel of each skate and replace it with the middle wheel of the opposite skate and flip the wheel upside down. Then swap the rear wheel of each skate with the opposite rear wheel and flip it upside down as well. For 4-wheeled skates, take the first 2 wheels on one skate and swap them with the back 2 wheels on the opposite skate and flip them upside down. Then repeat this process with the other 4 wheels. Use this as a general guide to maintain a consistent wear pattern, but let any extreme wear on any particular wheel hold the most weight as to where it should be placed to extend its life.
Now look at this.
Your bearings are now completely dry, so it's time to lubricate them and close them back up. Lubrication is the most important step, and it has the largest impact on the life of your bearings. You can use any oil-based lubricant like sewing machine oil to lube up, but I use Bones Speed Cream, also available on Amazon.com and in most online skate shops. Of all the lubricants I've tried, this has to be the best, and a small half-ounce bottle goes a long way. Put 1 or 2 drops into each bearing. Give it a spin to spread the oil evenly across the inner surfaces and balls. Then take a clean bearing shield, align it, and snap it back into place to close the bearing up. Do not over lubricate, as excess oil will just leak out of the bearing and trap more dust while you are skating. Some skaters use WD-40 as a lubricant, but WD-40 is really not a good bearing lubricant. It has a poor viscosity and does not include the additives in oil-based lubricants that protect rotating parts from friction and rust. It is of course much better than nothing at all. I used it several times and it makes your bearings spin really fast and smooth initially, but then it dries out quickly, leaving the bearings dry and noisy after a few sessions.
Now look at this.
Almost done. Time to reassemble your skates. First, assemble the wheels, bearings and spacers. Place a freshly lubricated bearing on a sturdy flat surface with the rubber shield side facing up and the metal shield side facing down. Take a wheel and align it over the bearing. Then use the palm of your hands to press down on it until the bearing snaps into the wheel. The metal shield side of the bearing should be on the outside and the rubber shield side should be on the inside of the wheel, making it harder for dust, water and contaminants to get back in. Now for the second bearing. Place another bearing rubber shield side up on the sturdy surface and place a spacer on top of it. Then place the wheel with the open side facing down and align it over the second bearing and spacer. Again, use the palms of your hands to press down on the wheel until the bearing and spacer snap into place. Your wheel should now be assembled with the metal shields of both bearings on the outside and a spacer in between them. Bolt the wheel onto your frame with an axle, ensuring the side of the wheel that was facing up on the table is on the inside edge of the skate when mounted on the frame. Just screw the axle in enough to keep it in place for now. It is best to tighten the axle bolts after all wheels have been mounted to the frame. Repeat this assembly for each wheel until all are mounted on your frame. My skate frame and axles are rocker-able, which means the axles can be adjusted to mount to the middle and rear wheels at either the same level or a little lower than the front wheel, giving the option to skate with a flat setup, a front rocker, or a full banana rocker on the same frame by just rotating the axles on my middle and rear wheels to suit. When I'm going skating for long distances or locations where I may encounter hills or unpredictable surfaces, I use a flat setup for maximum stability, but I primarily use the full banana rocker for freestyle slalom to get maximum maneuverability around the cones. With all the wheels assembled and mounted to the frame, the final step is to tighten your axles so they don't back out while you are skating. Take care to press the tool firmly into each axle hole before applying pressure to tighten it, and do not over tighten to risk stripping a bolt the next time you have to take it out.
Now look at this.
Congratulations, you did it! It's really not as hard as you thought. Take some time to admire your work. Check how fast and smooth your wheels spin on the frame and listen to that addictive sound of clean, lubricated spinning bearings. If you have rocker-able frames like mine, check to make sure you set them correctly to get the rocker you were looking for. Once everything seems to be okay, we can clean up, take these babies out for a spin. Let's lace them up. Be warned! Changing and rotating wheels can make your skates feel completely different. They will be very unstable and unfamiliar at first because of the difference in wheel sizes, profiles, and positions from your last setup. So you will need an adjustment period to get used to the new setup and how it responds on different surfaces. You might even feel you need to learn how to skate all over again, but this usually only lasts for the first day and quickly disappears by the next session as your muscle memory starts to kick in.
Now look at this. Now look at this.
And that's it for today's tutorial, guys. Hope it cleared up any anxieties you may have had about cleaning your bearings and rotating or changing your wheels. If it has, let me know in the comments. And tell me how you guys feel about skating right after doing skate maintenance. So, until next time, reject the hate, lace up the skate. Peace.